Wham, bam, a man. Job or no job, you can't tell me that I'm not. Do you enjoy what you do? If not, just stop. Don't stand there and rot, or don't stay there and rot. I don't really know the words. It's just I try to have a bit of a kind of party atmosphere with it being the last midweek preview pod for God knows how long. It's the end of the midweek madness. Hey everybody, take a look at me. I've got street credibility. I may not have a job, but I have a good time with the boys that I meet down on the line. The boys that I meet down. There was no signs. There was just no signs that George Michael wasn't a heterosexual man, and that's a shame for him. It's absolutely brilliant that he managed to have at least a few years where he was out and proud, doing his own thing, and the music, sensational. George Michael, absolutely fantastic. Love a bit of wham, and I just thought that'd be appropriate for the last day of school type atmosphere we're getting here. But of course, Hearts have ruined it, haven't they? Hearts have ruined it, as Michael Stewart was saying. I just went through the room there. It's sitting last in the parallels with last Tuesday. Are not parallels. It's a complete opposite. It's been inverted. Last Tuesday, as always with the preview pods, they're always too late. I always put them up too late. There's too much to say about the previous game. There's too much to say about the next game we're going to play. Then something like this happens live. Last week I was sitting there, I had the laptop open right here, and I recorded it as live on my preview pod for Kilmarnock at Ibrox. I was sitting there, I wasn't going to bother taking the Hearts game into account, but it's into injury time and it's 0-0, and I was refreshing the BBC website. It's 0-0. Oh my God, St Mirren have scored. I was hoping to just get to the end of the game and it'd be 0-0 and Hearts would drop 2 points. But then St Mirren scored as I refreshed. They went 1-0 up. Then that was it. I couldn't really concentrate in the pod for 1-0. And so a week later, Hearts have scored late on against Hibs to win 3 points, win the Edinburgh Derby. Big result for them. Gets them a bit of kind of pride back as well, local pride, having just lost the Edinburgh Derby a month earlier, and yeah, they were certainly looking very vindicated look about them Hearts at the end of that game tonight. I was just sitting through next door, so I'll have a wee cup of tea. I've too much stuff in that pod already. I take notes, you see, to try and help me along, and it's just making these pods more and more tired sounding because I rely more and more on the notes as I get more and more tired with each midweek podcast. So maybe your pods will get a bit fresher, or maybe they'll get a bit shorter now that Hearts are obviously going to win the league and there's nothing to talk about. But Michael Stewart, there's lots of eyes in Glasgow, lots of pupils, lots of retinas in Glasgow that were looking at this fixture, hoping Hearts would be, they could get it ridden. I don't think he's ever had a projection. Michael, there was a kind of a bitter edge to what he was saying. I'm not really feeling bitter. If it was Celtic, I'd be feeling bitter. I'd be feeling bitterly disappointed. You know, I'm not into that kind of bitterness, the capital B bitterness. But I feel like they'd be like, oh God, it's Celtic. God, my God, you know, it's only us that can stop them. You know, they're going to get to 56 before us, and I'm sick of them winning the league all the time. And this is something I know Celtic fans feel as well. And I mentioned it a couple of times in previous pods. It's very opposite this season. It's like an insurance policy. And I'm not saying it's an insurance policy just purely for Rangers, it's for Celtic fans as well. It's a strange thing. It's a very interesting thing to watch Hearts, getting towards mid-February. Big win against Hibs, and the place is going crazy because they think they're going to win the league. And Michael Stewart's right. No, it's the whole of Scotland. It's not that kind of Edinburgh Derby. That's sometimes that's good for a laugh. Let's watch what's happening there. Quite entertaining at times. They get stuck in about each other. The two Edinburgh teams, but that's applying to everybody just now. The whole of Scotland is watching them, what Hearts are getting up to, and it's quite a thing to see them win a game like that. Just flicked. My wife was watching something on the telly. I just wanted to chill out, cup of tea, biscuit, and that. And I said, "Don't worry about me. You carry on. I'm just trying to chill. I'm just thinking about this podcast I'm going to do." And it came to the end of their programme, and I was just stick it out to 551, stick it out to Premier Sports, see how the Jambos. I had no idea how it was going, and they were all going crazy. The place is going crazy. I don't know. They just scored. They only won 1-0, but it was late on, and the Tynecastle was going mental with that special kind of. It's a long time since I've seen it. I remember the Hearts doing it, as I said in a previous pod, to Dundee United at Tannadice, beating Dundee United 3-0 at Tannadice in 1986. 40 years ago, just beat them Dundee United 3-0 at Tannadice just the other week there. But I remember them doing it in 1986. I think it was John Robertson scored a cracker into the top corner and stuff like that, and the place was going crazy. Big, massive Hearts support. This is special. Hearts are going to win the league here. You can see they've got that feeling about them. We are seeing it more and more now with every Hearts victory. But it's a difficult thing to explain. it's like an insurance policy. Hearts being top of the league is like an insurance policy for both Rangers and Celtic fans. If we don't win it, hopefully Jambos will win it. I don't know at what point it gets to where we think, right, we now need Hearts to be losing. For us, it's going to be this weekend where we're up against Hearts at Ibrox. But if we don't take care of Motherwell on Wednesday night, well, then that's going to be a bit of a problem. Are we just losing? Are we just lessening Hearts' chances of beating Celtic to the title? You know, it's good stuff. This is what neutrals love. I can't say I'm always enjoying it, but I just want Rangers to win everything. If you support a team, you just want them to win everything. There's no lot of neutrality in Scottish football. There's no getting away from it. It's a really different feeling. But I think what it is because, especially now that we've got 2 successive Old Firm games at Ibrox in the space of maybe 6 days, maybe 7 days next month, it's incubating. It's almost letting the Old Firms sort themselves out, while Hearts are like, I don't know, the incubator, the nurse, the maternity ward. I don't know how that analogy carries on. Or maybe it's more like the Tour de France. They're the head of the court. They're at the front of the peloton. They're taking on the headwind, while Rangers and Celtic sit on their back wheel, and we sort out who's going to be on their back wheel. We sort that out amongst ourselves, and maybe that'll be sorted out after those 2 Old Firm games in March, and then we can start to try and maybe catch them as we head towards the where is it usually go? The Arc de Triomphe, but it's usually done by then, isn't it? The Tour de France by the time. She's just ceremonial the last day of the Tour de France, but yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? We can go for it then, but it's really I know a lot of Rangers fans will be thinking, but Celtic will hate it if Hearts win the league. And I say to that, well, did we hate it, the idea of Aberdeen winning the league in 2016? Okay, we weren't in the top division that season when Ronnie Delia's Celtic get pushed really close. I mean, it didn't get pushed really close, but there was a game probably about this time of year, it was Derek McInnes was in charge of Aberdeen at that point in time, where they beat Delia's Celtic at Pittodrie, and it looked like they might win the title when we weren't even in the top flight. Now, Aberdeen fans have made themselves as toxic, and they go too far. They're really trying to get our attention all the time, Aberdeen fans. Hearts are the same with Celtic. But we were like, aye, we'd have been delighted. We'd have absolutely loved it if Aberdeen had won the league that season. It's the same for Celtic fans. They'll be quite happy to see Hearts win the league if they can't, rather than Rangers. It's like when Aberdeen fans sometimes sing it when they're playing Celtic, like, we hate Rangers more than you, and the Celtic fans don't even respond with a song. They might laugh, but they don't. It's like breathing, us hating each other is just like breathing. It's just something you're brought up with, unfortunately, in a lot of instances. But that's not a problem for us. You can convince yourself that you hate them more than we do. Whatever. Hearts fans, really, their dislike of Celtic pales into insignificance. It's a rivalry as well, and it's a local. For all we like to go on about it, or I don't like to go on about it, but there's no doubt about it. The sectarian aspect of Rangers and Celtic, it's also just the local aspect, and it's a football rivalry. Everything else gets blown out of proportion because of that. It's a cyclical thing, though. The sectarian rivalry perhaps causes it, the amount of supporters they have and the dominance we have, but it's just been locked in this eternal struggle. Quite a nice wee change for Hearts to be up there taking the headwind of the front runner, insulating themselves against. So it's interesting. It puts the pressure on us. We're now in a situation where it looks like we've got a game in hand over Hearts. We've got them at Ibrox at the weekend. We are 6 points behind them just now on Tuesday night. We're getting into Wednesday night's game at Fir Park, but that's still really close. I think it's Motherwell. If they win, if they beat us at Fir Park, they'll be 5 points behind us with a game in hand on us. So we're still at that situation. We're trying to just make sure that we're in the title fight all the way to the end of the season. Never mind winning the actual league. But it's this time last week, Hearts had slipped up. Everybody thought, this is exciting. This time Hearts have done the business on the Tuesday night. By the way, I need to have a word with Peter Law how you exploit that stuff. They keep getting to play on a Tuesday night, totally putting the pressure on us. Oh no, we got the benefit of it last Tuesday night, so it's maybe no. How these things work at all, but it's making it hell of a interesting, and the stuff I find. I mean, to be honest, on the very day, the one game I haven't watched, and don't tell me the score because I'm going to watch this on the red button, is the Canadian women against the USA women at the ice hockey at the Olympics, and on the very day that happens, I just heard Danny Röhl's interview on Premier Sports after the Queen's Park game, and he's talking about how before we played Queen's Park on Sunday, on Saturday, he'd made like the 18 play the B team, or like the starters to play the guys that were on the bench, and there was no, they couldn't tell which team was best. This is Rangers players that were going to be on the bench were to play the Rangers players who were going to start the game. We're going to have a get, and so it's literally on the day that the women are playing the ice hockey Canada against USA. Danny Röhl has gone total homer to Lisa and Bart. Well, fight for our love, fight for our love. Absolute classic line from The Simpsons. So it's good to see that Danny Röhl is pushing it all the way. Talking of women, meanwhile in Hamilton, and I'm going mental. It's like 8-0. Oh, I can't remember how. I think I've only seen Rangers win by 8 goals once before. It turns out it was twice at least. I've not finished my research there. But it's 5-0 up at half time. It's amazing. Oh, 8-0. I wish there'd been a bit more injury time. We could maybe go to 10 or whatever. The Rangers women were 8-0 up at half time at Hamilton. The Hamilton women are still playing at Hamilton Accies, Hamilton Accies women are still playing at New Douglas Park, whereas the Hamilton Accies men's team has moved to Broadwood, and Clyde men's team are playing at New Douglas, but I don't know what's going on there at all. I could have made something about the fact, I could have made a really long, brutal coincidence out of the fact, tenuous coincidence about the fact that Hamilton Accies, on a day that we were playing the club responsible for our biggest ever Scottish Cup shock defeat, Queen's Park, almost a year to the day, the women are playing Hamilton Accies, who I was at that game as well, where Hamilton Accies beat us in 1987. At least Hamilton Accies were in the same division. They put us out the Scottish Cup at Ibrox in 1987, Adrian Sprott and all that. But Hamilton Accies have actually played Hamilton Accies in the Scottish Cup final, the men's team. We've never played Queen's Park. They've won 10 Scottish Cups. We've won 34, I think, but we'd never actually played Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup final. We have played Hamilton Accies in the Scottish Cup final in the 30s, the men's team. That's quite a thing. But we're all going on about the real derby here, isn't it? Rangers Celtic. There's only two genders. Derby, the men and the women are totally showing up the men's team. It's really embarrassing for all us blokes. They are 8-0 against Queen's Park into insignificance, with the women winning 11-0 against Hamilton there, and I'd been doing this whole thing and I got it wrong. It was after the Kilmarnock game last Wednesday night, my post-match reaction, I was talking about how this season Hearts, Rangers and Celtic all going for the title at the same time. That was a bit like the women's game, because the women's game had been, it was Glasgow City, Rangers and Celtic. For years, Glasgow City just had the run of it almost. They dominated the women's game, but along came the professionals, just the same way as 100 years before. The Rangers and Celtic men's team had come along with their professionalism and taken the Scottish game away. Just as the league came in, the height of professionalism had taken away the dominance of Scottish football from Queen's Park, who were the Scottish Cup dominant force, when that was the only real kind of competition in town, because they remained amateur. And it was thought, is it going to be the same? Glasgow City don't have the same money as Rangers and Celtic, but Glasgow City kept hanging on. But this season it's the same thing, like Glasgow City, Rangers and Celtic, and Hibs are the women's champions. Hibs are the women's champions. As soon as I stopped the podcast, I remembered that, and I see my wee cousin's actually the managing director of the SWPL. Sorry, Fiona, sorry about that. I just forgot about it. She was actually handing out the medals at Ibrox last season as the Hibs women won it. But then I was checking out the table. I watched all 11 goals. I watched Rangers men's team's 8 goals back again. Haven't seen them live. And then I put on the sports scene highlights of the women's team. Their 11 goals against Hamilton. What a great couple of days it's been. It's been fantastic fun just watching Rangers scoring endless goals without reply. But I saw the league table at the end of that, and I'm like, oh God, there's 2 teams above us, up with Glasgow City and Celtic. Squinted the eyes. It's Glasgow City and Hearts are above Rangers and Celtic, who I think are like the same points. So there's 4 teams now. Kind of got the Hibs have dropped off a bit, and it's like Glasgow City and Hearts are kind of far out, are a few points in front of us. But there's 4 teams in the women's game, so it's really more interesting. It's a party atmosphere, folks. It's the last that I'm leaving trying to do this pod properly. I will do a starting 11 and a predicted score, my predicted start 11, predicted score, and a big spiel about Rangers against Motherwell. But we've got stuff to get through. We have got stuff to get through. First of all, it's the hoodie. We'll talk about the hoodie. I mean, do you like it? Like my new, it's a new one, isn't it? It is new. You don't have, now I've got three. I'll just be wearing that blue one, I'll wear the blue hoodie, or I'll wear the grey one, and you'll be saying, oh, like that grey hoodie, it's 40 pieces. I know, so I just went out and I treated myself. Nutmeg by Morrison's on Saturday in the sale, £14, reduced to 11. Morrison's more card, a wee, tenner I got it for, and I just want to say thank you. Because it's you guys. You guys got me. You bought me. This is the advertising revenue finally kicking in, finally getting the money through. I could have go and get myself the kind of clothes that I love. And what I notice straight away is that I look like a certain Augustinian friar circa 1517. I don't mean just after 3:15 in the afternoon. In Wittenberg, is that 95 theses in your pocket, or are you just pleased to FTP me? No, it's a hammer and some nails as well, pal. Okay, that's fine. It's you guys have paid for this, and I know you want the wee treat that you get in return for giving Alec what he wants is you get to see me wearing it, dressing up like Martin Luther there. My tonsure is going to slip back the way. I'll get that sorted. But I know what you naughty boys want. I know what you want me to do. You keep getting me the kind of clothes and all that I want from you. You want some stats, don't you? Want some trivia, dirty guesses. I know what you want. So that's first in touch was Albert, telling me that Albert gets in touch all the time. Absolute legend of the old podcast here. He gets in touch. And we have many legends. I know I say that about everybody, but there's so many folk that are so nice about the podcast. They get in touch. Alec, dance for me. Give us some stats. And he was talking about San Lorenzo. I mentioned Argentinian football being on Premier Sport. I mentioned that in my post-match reaction after the Queen's Park game. And he's like, Rangers played San Lorenzo back in the 50s? And he's like, 1955-56 season. What? And I've got the complete Rangers, straight to Rangers, the complete record. McElroy and Ferrier. Seminal piece of work. I don't just say that because I'm one of the named sponsors at the back of it. I was right in there. Alec Anderson, it's quite good to be at the front there, alphabetical order. Check it out. But he does it at the back. He's got all it's just full of all sorts of information, obviously. But at the back, it's other games. That's my favourite bit. Other games. It's all friendlies and maybe Glasgow Cup stuff, Glasgow Merchants Charity Cup. And I think all these games going back for years and years that they didn't know about. And see, it was really interesting. We played Arran. We played an Arran Select in Arran just after the First World War to raise money for a war memorial. Just made us getting on the bus, getting on the boat, probably at Ardrossan, getting the ferry over to Arran. That's fantastic. Just stuff. Reading all these kind of things, but I looked it up straight away. San Lorenzo of Almagro, San Lorenzo de Almagro from Argentina. The last of the big five to win the Copa Libertadores. Viggo Mortensen supports him. The previous Pope to this one, he was a big San Lorenzo supporter, and that's when they finally won the Libertadores. I got that monkey off their back when the Pope was a San Lorenzo supporter, but I had no idea, as I said, that they played Rangers 1955-56, which was the first season of European club competition, ironically. And I went right back and looked through all the other previous friendlies. I think that's the first South American side we ever played. We'd been to the States on a couple of tours and all that. Did we go to Australia as well? Maybe before that, but we'd never played a South American side. That was the first South American side. And it's the following season we played in the European Cup for the first time. We're playing Nice, who are managed by Louis Carnelia. The following season to that, he goes to Real Madrid, and he's the manager of Real Madrid when they win their second and their third and their fourth European Cup. He's when they win the European Cup, and then later on in his management career, he's Argentinian. He goes back and he's manager of San Lorenzo in 1973. During that game against San Lorenzo, we won 4-3. I think it was Sammy Baird who scored our first ever goal in European competition. He scores one. It's Don Kitchenbrand gets one, and Johnny Hubbard, the penalty king. We'll get Tav scoring a penalty to get his first hat trick and Sunday. He gets a couple to Johnny Hubbard in that game against San Lorenzo. And then just to look up Don Kitchenbrand. I know Don Kitchenbrand and Johnny Hubbard. So we're playing a South American team. We've got 3 goals from 2 South Africans. When the game's in Glasgow, it's Europe. There's 3 different continents being covered in that game before we'd ever played in European continental competition. And Don Kitchenbrand, his last ever team was Keith of the Highland League. The last team he played for was Keith of the Highland League, Don Kitchenbrand, and the White Rhino. And of course, Keith we beat 10-1 in the Scottish Cup 95-96, and that's the last time a Rangers player got a hat trick in the first half of a Scottish Cup match. As far as I can see, don't take that as gospel. did a bit of research, but it definitely, Keith, it was Alec Cleland got a hat trick against them in that game in 95, 96, January 96, I think it was, when we played Keith of the Highland League at Pittodrie. And that was something that it's really. And how you doing, folks? This is your Fat Eck. After our two worst ever Scottish Cup results, Berwick 67, Queen's Park 2025. Later the same season, in both those instances, we did well in Europe, losing the Cup Winners' Cup final in 67. After Berwick put us out the Scottish Cup, ironically, we go on and we lose to Bayern Munich in Bavaria, the Cup Winners' Cup final. And last season, of course, after Queen's Park put us out, it was probably our worst ever Scottish Cup result. We get to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, which is probably, I think, per capita, pro rata, proportionally, a greater achievement. In this day and age, the way the rest of European football has moved on from Scottish football, the size and length of the tournaments, so many other powerful nations in Europe now, the coefficient system and that being kind of rigged against us, it's probably more of an achievement for Rangers to get to a quarter final in 2025 than it was to get to the final in 1967. So that's after we did that, both those times we went right out of the Scottish Cup in humiliating circumstances, but we got to a European final. This time we've copped to a Europe relatively early in kind of ignominious circumstances. Well done, the group only winning one game, only avoiding defeat in one other game as well in that 8-game group stage. Well, perhaps that means that we're going to win the league this season. Domestically, we're going to be great. But obviously, we haven't gone out. If we go to the Scottish Cup, it'll be to Celtic, which is no disgrace. It'll be annoying, but it's no disgrace. So we've saved ourselves from that. The giant killing thing, but maybe we went out of Europe. If it's working that kind of reverse thing, maybe it's working the other way around. We needed to get put out in the qualifiers. We should not have reached the group stage for it to be bad enough for us to, the better we do in Europe, the worse we do domestically, etc. So maybe the fact that we go into the group stage, I don't know if we can avoid getting into the group stage, but I think if we'd lost both our first qualifying rounds, we'd ended up we could lose a playoff to get into the Conference League. Failed at that, then we'd win the league and the cup, but maybe only failed badly enough in Europe this season to win the Scottish Cup. Win the Scottish Cup only, and that's maybe the consolation we're going to have to go with. Queen's Park and on Sunday, debrief and Motherwell at Fir Park. Preview pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet every Friday at 9 p.m, every Sunday at 9:30 p.m, live in the Jersnet YouTube channel. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm sponsored by Molten Brown. Molten Brown. See the adverts on Sunday, the big adverts on Ibrox advertising hoardings, the LCD moving advertising screens. Molten Brown, sense of possibility. Sense of possibility. Well, Queen's Park didn't even get a sniff, did they? Queen's Park didn't get a sniff this time, but we certainly get a little hint of how fragrant this season and this era could yet be for Rangers. Same day as the Super Bowl. I nearly called it the Super Bowl final, didn't I? Same day as the Super Bowl, we're playing Queen's Park and we threaten to get into double figures. It's a kind of low end 8-0 is a kind of low end NFL scoreline, and 13-1 over 2 consecutive home games with £20 million of talent. Danny Röhl's first signings are all bedding in beautifully already. This is us finally a whole kind of 7 or 8 months after we wanted it to happen. It's been a terrible, terrible long wait, looking like the dominating force that we hope to be under our new owners. The new owners who, of course, built the stadium. Parag Marathi arranged, he sorted out the move for the San Francisco 49ers to the stadium that hosted the Super Bowl on Sunday. It just feels like it's a bit like I just keep thinking that Alan Partridge, the second series, Alan Partridge, when he's in the caravan because his house is getting built. He's in the caravan next door to these new houses. He's getting built, and Lynn, his agent, comes in and she's got the brand new clothes on, lovely new jacket, and she's got her hair done. I was, you're looking really good. You hair done. Is that your mum's money coming in? Her mother's died, and she's just waiting for her to get the money from her estate. So aye, that's it. That's the money from mother's estate coming in. So I feel that's what we're like just now. First signs, winning 8-0, new signings, scoring goals, and 2 consecutive games. We feel where money's coming in. Lynn's money's coming. The 49ers money is finally coming in, and Seattle Seahawks. No offense, but Jesus, the uniforms are garbage, aren't they? Terrible. it's blue and I don't know if the blue and green is just obscene together. Those colours should never be seen, except for 2 straight weekends in March. They'll be seen clashing in Glasgow. But Seattle Seahawks, no offence to Marty Crane, but the uniforms are terrible. All the NFL uniforms are terrible these days. It's just a classic old man thing. A mere 40 years ago, when I took a wee interest in the old Gridiron when it was on Channel 4, I just thought, the uniforms, the strips, the outfits look fantastic, look really glamorous, but they look really kind of cheap and tacky and dowdy these days. But I did watch a wee bit of the Superbowl. Didn't last very long, but it's our vice chairman. He got them moved to that stadium, and it's kind of ties in with the fact that I'll go to the next thing. Sorry, Stranger Things. I was talking about Stranger Things. I'm just tying up a lot of stuff that I was talking about. It's kind of snaggish, updatey, roundup section of this podcast. I just talked too long. Nobody's watching it now. I've posted it far too late. I might as well just enjoy myself and get everything off my chest, kind of therapeutically. Nobody's going to be watching this preview pod. I was talking about Stranger Things. I was going home to watch the final episode of Stranger Things on Sunday after the game. And I mentioned this in my post-match reaction pod, and I did. I watched the final episode of the 2-hour finale. It was fantastic. It really was great. Very real tearjerker, powerful stuff. Really, probably enjoyed it. And it's Stranger Things, Stranraer Things. I mean, there was about at the end, our heroes were getting called upstairs because the lasagna was going cold. I told you I was going to have lasagna, didn't I? I told you I was going to have lasagna when I get in. I didn't know that. I didn't know it ends with them all going up for a plate of lasagna for their mum up in or one of the mums upstairs. So that was a bit of coincidence, but also it ends in the year 1989. And I was telling you, as far as I was concerned, in that post-match reaction pod, I was telling you, as far as I was concerned, that was the first time I'd seen Rangers scoring 8 goals in a game live, me being there, since 1989, since February 89, where we beat Stranraer 8-0. Stranraer, who we were supposed to be playing the other day. We were supposed to be playing Stranraer on instead of Queen's Park, no, because Stranraer beat Queen's Park on penalties, but then it was because of an ineligible player and an ineligible goalkeeper that they signed from Hearts. Queen's Park took their place again, and it was 1989. My mate and I were just going to different parts of the ground and that kind of thing. It wasn't a season ticket type. At that point, we had a season ticket the previous season, but anyway, we're in the main stand. Probably quite close. I'm going to try and dig out the tickets. Maybe it's the exact same seat. I can't remember. We beat Stranraer 8-0. But I'd said in my previous podcast, the reaction to the Annan Athletic game, that Rangers wearing blue socks, it made us look like Stranraer. And the previous time I seen us winning 8-0 was against Stranraer. But then Alan, he's great on the pod. He got in touch last night and he was saying, well, you know, at the game where we beat Stenhousemuir 8-0. No, 2013, September 2013, 2014. We're in it was League One by that point, wasn't it? The third tier, up into the third tier, our second season in the lower leagues, and John Daly got 4 goals. But he got 2 goals each half. That was the hat trick in one half thing's quite rare. But we beat them 8-0. I was totally at that game. I just completely forgetting about it. I thought that ruins the whole kind of connection, the Queen's Park, Stranraer thing. But then I thought, no, wait a minute. Queen's Park, Stenhousemuir, right? Queen's Park, when they came closest, the closest they've been in the last probably 70 years. I've not actually measured the last time they were in the top flight. But to getting back into the top flight, they were playing out of Ochilview. Ochilview, Stenhousemuir, who had the last game of the Scottish Cup this weekend, they played after us on Sunday night, losing to Falkirk after extra time. But remember, it was Queen's Park were playing out of Ochilview when Lesser Hampden was getting rebuilt as a city ground, and then they sold Hampden. And they played Dundee there. We all watched the game. I did anyway, live on the BBC on the Friday night. It was a straight shootout to see who was going to go straight up into the top flight. And Dundee, was it 5-3 or something? Dundee won in the end. It was an absolutely amazing game. And that was played at Ochilview, Stenhousemuir, Queen's Park. It just can't get away from it. It's Stranraer, Queen's Park. So that was Stranraer Things, Stranraer Things. And I was at that game. So there might be other games. I've not completed my research to see it. And I know you're all really, Alec, please going to tell us what kind of games you were at where Rangers scored 8 goals. But just shows you forget stuff. But I'll go through my lists and find out if there was any other 8 goal winners for Rangers that I missed. Thanks for that. But only 1 hat trick in that game. That's the final thing. Hat tricks. Tav's first half hat trick. That's 143 goals, 147 assists for Rangers. 143 goals, 147 assists. Unbelievable. Alec Clellander scored a first half hat trick against Keith. Ian Ferguson also scored a hat trick in that game against Keith. We beat Keith 10-1 in the 1995-1996 Scottish Cup. Keith playing the game at Pittodrie. Tav's first goal came, the 18th minute. He scored that penalty 39th minute, so his hat-trick took 21 minutes to complete. Alec Cleland, who would have been wearing number 2 as well that day, and has also scored against Celtic at Parkhead for Rangers, as Tav has a few times. He scored his first goal in the 12th minute, and it was done by the 29th minute. It was a 17-minute hat-trick for Alec Cleland. Ian Ferguson, he got a hat-trick across both halves in that game as well against Keith. So I mean, it's against the lower league side. Alec Cleland was a quicker hat-trick. It's away from home. Keith were away from home as well. Say what you want about that one, but I wasn't at the Keith game, but glory hunter that I am, I was at the final. I was at the final when we beat Hearts 5-1 to see Gordon Jury's hat-trick, which was scored in the second half. Gordon Jury, like Stan Mortensen, scoring the only hat-trick in the 1953 FA Cup final, that becoming known as the Matthews Cup final. Gordon Jury scores the only hat-trick scored in the 1995 Scottish Cup. Well, obviously, because it's only 5-1, but somebody could have scored an own goal and 2 goals for that. But that becomes known as the Loudrup final, even though he's scored the only goal. And that took 19 minutes. That hat-trick took a bit, was in the second half. So it's quite, we started off with 2 hat-tricks in the first game we played in that Scottish Cup that season. We ended to be a hat-trick in the second half for Big Jukebox. In that fantastic final when, every goal, it was Brian Loudrup and Gordon Jury scored all the goals, and every goal scored by Brian Loudrup or Gordon Jury, the assist was from Brian Loudrup or Gordon Jury. It's just quite an amazing game. If you watch that one back, watch the goals. So that was the Scottish Cup thing, but with hat-tricks. Chris Boyd's debut 21 years and a month ago, 5-run against Peterhead, he scored a hat-trick in the second half. I knew he scored a hat-trick in that game, but it was all in the second half. Those goals, it took 21 minutes. I'm getting lots for the Rangers Archives website. I started looking up the Rangers Archives website. It's fantastic database. Highly recommend that if you're into your stats, a bit of detail here and there. Ferguson and Clarendon, they got their same hat-tricks in the game against Keith in 1996, but one of our Celtic supporting friends here, Robert, who gets in touch regularly and always good posts, but he came up with this stunner of a stat. I had no idea about this. I think I'd seen it. I think it's in one of these old Rangers annuals that I got from my auntie, who's a few years old. She's about 10 years older than me. I know Ayrshire, but I think I might have seen pictures of this game, but I'd forgotten about it because it was 3 or 4 years before my time, before I started really remembering football, before I went to my first game at Ibrox. But in January 1974, Rangers played Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup at Ibrox, and we won 8-0. Unbelievable. We won 8-0, and after all my chat on Sunday about how Nadiri might have got himself a hat-trick, so with 2 players, would have had 2 players scoring hat-tricks again in the same game, Tommy McLean and Derek Parlane both got hat-tricks in that game, as Robert was telling us. Check this out as well. And Tommy McLean, he got hat-tricks. His hat-trick that day was in the second half. All his was in the second half. Derek Parlane got 2 in the first. He scored them over both halves. Derek Parlane, who scored the first live goal I ever saw by Rangers 3 and a bit years later. But Tommy McLean's hat-trick took is almost half an hour. Shockingly lazy stuff. He'll never amount to anything. But that's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy that we played Queen's Park twice. Either side have beaten them 8-0 twice at Ibrox. They've come to Ibrox and pit us out the Scottish Cup. Quite the thing. That's enough stats for me, folks. I know you're wanting the Motherwell stuff and that, but I'm just enjoying myself. Sorry, total disregard for my viewership here. I've got the money off you. I've got the hoodie. That's it. I'm away like the tart that I am, doing what I want to do. My Premier Sports eulogy at the end, this is my snagging item, was all about, at the end of my reaction pod on Sunday post-match, was about the glory of sport when your team is winning. What I missed out, and I was just talking about lots of stuff I'd seen on Premier Sport, what I missed out in that kind of story of Saturday lunchtime kind of ruminating on Premier Sports is the epilogue, the kicker, the coda, if you like. I got onto my phone. I got on my phone to find out various things. That's the rugby. Why are England's A playing Ireland 15 or whatever at the rugby? And I'd found out that Premier Sport had moved our game on Saturday, 21st of March, I think it is, with Aberdeen at Ibrox to 17:45 to 5:45 at fucking night. So there's no way I was eulogising Premier Sports just to be sure about that. It was I just happened to see a whole lot of sport on that made me feel good about sport again via Premier Sport coverage on Saturday afternoon. But they soon had Premier Sport themselves were pissing me off again. But it's 6:15, and that's a terrible time for a game of football. A German coach will delight in the professionalism, while a Scottish coach isn't allowed to enjoy beating minnows because we are a wee nation. We have that wee man syndrome kind of thing. My name's Alec Anderson. La mer, convoy danser, les langues des golfes clairs, à des reflets d'argent, la mer, des reflets changeants sur la pluie. And I was watching Danny Röhl's post-match interview on Premier Sports just yesterday, and he was absolutely buzzing. I was taken away by just how kind of amazingly upbeat he was, and why the hell shouldn't he be? He did say, yes, I know it's a second division side we played, but from the first minute we were on fire. Everyone is available. Everyone wants to play. You can see the confidence. The 8-0 goal went through in the red zone. Great move through the red zone. I think that must be the passing round about the end of the box, the edge of the box and into the box. He said nothing is won, and the next game is always the most important. He throws that kind of Sepp Herberger-ism in there quite a lot. It's very, very German, but he told us this whole thing about there's no difference between the bench and the starters. He was thanking Greta Steinson and Stig Inge Bjorneby and Andrew Kavanagh and Scott Fry. He was just thanking absolutely everybody. It was almost a kind of valedictorian thing. I'm taking that from Stranger Things a week out in a valedictory speech the other day, but it was like end of season. He was talking almost. It was quite a weird. And this thing he was talking about how they'd made the A team play the B team, and the guys that were on the bench were going to play the starters the day before. It just made me think about that story. It was Ali McCoy, and that tells it about Graham Souness when Souness was manager at Rangers. Every Friday, which used to be most games are played on a Saturday still at that point in the 80s, every Friday they'd have the five-a-sides, and it would be Scotland against England. And Souness, just to make up the numbers, would go and join with the English players. But I think Ali McCoy used to do or nothing. That he would go like me and Ian Durrant and Derek Ferguson that would do or nothing. Scotland internationals watching a great Scotland captain playing with England because they just thought Souness actually thought the English stuff was a bit more glamorous. They're a bit more big time than these wee Scottish nobodies. You know what Souness was like. So it got pretty violent at times. At one point, Walter Smith was the referee to step in and just abandon it because they're on there like punching Souness. No, that just no holds barred. They'd had enough, and they get back into the dressing room. And Souness comes in and just goes, "Right, boys, just that kind of same attitude tomorrow will be absolutely fine." It's like he didn't know when to back down, or no back down, but not bear any grudges at times. Graham Souness, he's not all bad. He knew he'd started it, so he was quite proud of his players to finish it. But it just reminded me of that kind of thing. I don't know what happened, but it's just he's enjoying it. I think he's buzzing off the fact that all his players are now of a level, and they're all busting to get into the team. It's a transformation from probably what he inherited. But he did say, I know it's a second division side and all that, but he's standing there with Craggs and Hutton and Emma Dodge stood in the pitch side doing this post-match interview while I was having my chips and gravy at the gourmet burger van just yards from them on the other side of those Bluebell gates, but eons away in terms of social status. Under umbrellas they were as well, just to make sure our manager didn't get electrocuted at the very moment his team were on fire. I didn't want him joining them on fire, but there was a tractor here, the tractor going past them, the tractor that I see going past coming out for the car park at the back of Brimley. I'm doing these post-match pods and it goes in through the blue gates, it goes past. So they've got their own wee sweepy man. They've got the wee sweepy man as well thing that just ruins your interviews. I think these guys that work the hard shifts at Rangers, they really resent us posing about our microphones and that, talking rubbish, but it was good. What a chance we have to go top of the league by the end of the week. He was doing this thing where he was like, well, we're playing the game on Wednesday night against Motherwell, and if we win that, and if we win against Hearts, and he starts slowing down and looking about under the assembled umbrellas, to see if anybody's going to finish the sentence for him. I think maybe he realised, I'm going to start saying maybe what I should just say to the players. I'm literally getting ahead of myself here. If we win these two games, we go top of the league. It's like, I know, and if your auntie was your uncle, But it was quite interesting. It was he's telling Craggs he didn't care how we scored the goals when Mr. Misery was. Stephen Craig was just asking him, pointing out the fact that 6 of the goals we'd scored against Queen's Park came from crosses. So is that something you're focusing on or whatever? And he just didn't care how we score the goals. And it wasn't even he was smiling as he said it. But it would have been the first hint of tetchiness to come from what would normally, at Rangers, frankly, be regarded as kind of cockiness. It's almost like he'd lost his equilibrium a bit. Danny Röhl in this interview, he was buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. But I saw he dialed it back by the time he got into the press room and was doing the assembled print media, or if there is any such thing these days. But the journalists in there, he dialed it back a bit by the time he got in there. But it was, I think, this game against Queen's Park plus the Kilmarnock game, he saw that, and he mentioned this. He's gone from having to teach us how to stop leaking goals to watching us score 8 goals without reply. I think he got giddy about the fact the transfer window is over, because I know he was not enjoying that at press conferences and having to continually talk about who might arrive and who might not. He probably enjoying the fact that it's over, and he got the players that he needed. He's talking about Nadiri. He's really gushing about Ryan Nadiri, the fellow East German. He was born after the wall come down, Ryan Nadiri. But he's just gushing about how good he was in the game, and his work now is to focus on his winning stuff, I think, rather than just avoiding his losing stuff. But it was really notable how upbeat he was in that post-match press conference, Danny Röhl. Not the press conference, sorry, the interview with Premier Sport on the pitch after the game. But no wonder, never mind all the 4-2-2-2 stuff, the Red Bull kind of influence. Red Bull binge your wingers, or Red Bull gives you huge wingers or inverted wingers, whatever. But it's the Nordseeland Old Boys. We're talking this before. So we've now got 4 Nordseeland Old Boys, the hope to dream, to live, to breathe, perchance to dream academy guys, graduates, all of them in the park there. Antman coming onto a game. He's a kind of understudy for Skov Olsen, potentially, even though he's playing in the opposite wing the other day. And maybe we're doing that. But, you've got a right footer, Antman, playing in the left wing, and you've got a left footer playing in the right. This is something, and Skov Olsen playing in the right wing. But I think he tends to favour his left foot more than Antman favours his right. But there's this kind of Diamandi and Chuck Buani, who have also played for North Zealand, as well as were 2 kind of wide men on Sunday. They were developed as a kind of conjoined telepathy the 2 of them had in the middle of the pitch. They've played together before. Obviously, they're both at North Zealand at the same time, but it really was quite encouraging. I know it's against Queen's Park, but these are the games where you get to practice it. You get to get it going and see what could possibly happen. You've got to get, Malcolm McDonald, The Art of Scoring Goals. I just remember in that book him talking about, if you've had a bad couple of games, you've not managed to score a goal, just go into training, just go out in front of an empty, get a whole bag of balls basically in front of an empty goal, and rattle them into the back of the net just to get your touch. And it's a scaled up version of that. If you can win 8-0 against Queen's Park and get stuff going, get some goals for yourself, Ryan Nadiri, and this understanding going between Diamandi and Chukwueze, or re-establishing it, whatever. They obviously had it before when they're playing in Denmark together. Then when it comes to bigger games like this game against Motherwell, then you get a chance. It's ready to go. You're practicing it. I know what I loved watching the goals going in. When I watched the goals back on television when I got back in the house, I couldn't remember who'd put the ball in for Bajrami's goal, and it was Jaden Magoma. And I love the fact that Jaden Magoma, who'd come on as a sub for Tour Romans, who everybody's loving, and quite rightly so, he come on and got an assist as well. He come on and got a number, so to speak, coming off the bench after all the sterling work he's done over the last few months. I think we're quite starfuckery as a support. I think most football supports are. They love a star, but our starfucking penchant as a support threatens to have us kind of ousting somebody like Magoma at times. I think we do this thing. It's almost like we're looking for somebody to fall out about all the time. And even when everybody's playing great, and we've got 22 starters, if you like, we'll start picking what one we like the best and start hating it. The hate Tav gets it's nothing to do with Tav. It's quite ridiculous. So to see him come on the park and just again put a ball in, a cracking ball to the back post for Bajrami to get his goal of the game. It's like Majowski. My Albanians and North Macedonians getting them mixed up, terrible. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely lovely. It's just a kind of it's the epitome of Röhl's declaration that there's no difference between the bench and the on-field, between the A team and the B team. Everybody's going to be needed. The whole squad's going to be needed, but the squad's been streamlined, and the squad is now at a level where everybody can make an equal kind of contribution. He's coming to the right-hand side as well for another Magoma for that goal, another kind of in-swinging set-piece routine. We destroyed Queen's Park with in-swinging corners, in-swinging balls. Scott Fry, phenomenal. The players have got to do that, to execute that, phenomenal. And this is why I think Danny Röhl was gushing about. He was naming, as I say, Greta Steinson, Stig Inge Bjorneby, Andrew Kavanagh, Scott Fry. They all get named in his Premier Sport, his TV, the broadcaster post-match interview, and he's basically saying, thanks for getting these players for me. Thanks for getting us this situation where we can score so many goals from set pieces as well. He's enjoying the fact that we are no longer struggling to be mid-table. Oliver Antman was impressive. He got an assist to add to the goal, and the assist he got versus Kilmarnock on Tuesday. This is what Danny Röhl... So he's been injured, Oliver Antman, and he'd found Scottish football, he was saying to the media, I think it was Daily Record or something like that, online. I noticed it. He says that he was finding it difficult because the Scottish game is much more kind of condensed and compacted and physical than the Dutch game, which, as we know, is all about space. He probably found it a bit more difficult as well because there's not as many big guys. There wasn't as many big guys, but we're changing that physical profile, as everybody's noticing. Just now we're getting in bigger players, but the Dutch, tallest nation on earth, there's probably plenty of Dutch guys in the middle of the park, in the box for him to hit anytime he was belting down the wing for go-ahead Eagles. And the Finns, Mixu Patalainen's kind of just, he's a short arse. He's a skinny short arse, Mixu Patalainen, and Finnish football. So when he's playing for Finland, he probably finds that there's bigger guys in the middle of the park available for him in those games as well. Oliver Antman, but no, he's got plenty of big guys to hit with the ball. And I think it's probably just the fact that he's coming into a winning team, that helps him. He said that as well to the media, Oliver Antman. But also, I think these guys would have been traumatised by the shit that was going about Ibrox, the atmosphere, at the start of the season. And that's, Danny Röhl has definitely get rid of that with his total calm, his calming nature, his calming vibe, his calming aura, which is why I found his enthusiasm so kind of disconcerting in that interview. But I think what this does with Danny Röhl, this is what Danny Röhl does, and he's almost rehabilitating players, our head coach. Players who are perhaps traumatised by the Russell Martin era, especially if they first arrived for the Russell Martin era, and some will take longer than others. So let's know, for example, right off Asgard, the improvement won't always be in a kind of smooth upward curve. Let's get behind these players in this team and help them, because as good as our form has been of late, as steadily as it's improving, our next two opponents have been on overachieving form all season long. Motherwell and Hearts are more in the groove than us. I know, obviously Hearts slipped up the last couple of games, if you like, been dropping points the last couple of games, but they're so far ahead of what they've been in recent seasons, but they've been there from the word go this season. We know Danny Röhl was the man. We know that our owners are backing him. We know our kind of post-Thelwell recruitment may very well be spectacular, but all we have to do as a support is help it all bed in extra quick. Am I doing a thing again when I'm trying to talk as if I'm going to tell the support? But it's kind of hard to do that when only 12 folk are watching your podcast, Alec, because you spend the first half hour talking about friendlies against San Lorenzo, and you hear what happened against Cowlairs in the 1880s. That's nothing. But anyway, it's something I'm going to do. I was meant to Albert, who got in touch. There's a line in Heat. There's a guy, Albert Tarina. He's one of the criminal informants, played by the late Ricky Harris. It's a great scene where he goes to see Albert, and he tells him, your brother Richard, he's the informant as well. He's got information for him, which it turns out to be quite quick. Turns out to be really important, pivotal to the the plot of the film. But it meets him in BJ's on Alvarado, 2 a.m. I think it is. Al Pacino goes in there to meet them, and it's a whole, you have to watch the whole scene to get it, but at one point he just turns around and goes, Albert, what are you doing? you waste my time like this. You're dragging me along here to waste my time like this. That's what it's like yesterday. I'm trying to reply to everybody on the posts that I will get around to replying to everybody that's been kind enough to get in touch. But I just saw that message for Albert going, he played San Lorenzo in 1955-56 season. That was me away. That was me down the rabbit hole for a good 3 or 4 hours. So, yeah, it's quite funny. But I think all we've got to do as a support is help the players bed in extra quick, because we're trying to get them to bed in. You know, some of them just have arrived just in the last couple of weeks, and most of them, a lot of them arrived into an absolute nightmare scenario in June, July, into August, where the place was just in total uproar and not wanting anything to do with anybody who'd arrived under Russell Martin or Kevin Thelwell. So to go from that to winning the league title and winning the Scottish Cup, it's going to take us. We'll have to be extra patient and positive with them, like right now. Fuck me if I'm not asking us all to be, well, as well as more kind of no surrender, less surrender, you know, surrender even less. I'm saying we have to be happy, bloody clappy. Shut up, you're doing it. Aye, you're kumbaya and God save our hippie king. We're going to have a setback again very soon. Maybe it's against Motherwell tonight. That's the point where we, the support, can play our part in winning this team, this league. The thing is, the players know. They know what we're like. The players know it now. It's okay. We've made. They probably still wake up sweating. Half of them remembering the bollock we've been dishing out this season. So there's zero danger they'll ever forget what our demands are as a support. That point, I think we just say that, park it, as they say. That point's been made this season. What our demands are, what we expect. And we saw it in Danny Röhl's face last Wednesday night. We can go too far with this stuff. He's freaked out by our carnaptiousness. Imagine what it would do to our players if, say, for example, coming off the Ibrox pitch after a home loss to Hearts, we all stayed behind to applaud them. And I just gave them a wee round of applause. Sing a bit of Ibroxonia, you know, the sash, whatever. They sang the Danny Röhl song. I saw it's getting sold as a scarf now. It's got printed out in a scarf. Hey, fucking hey, it's the Celtic. He's got playing electric. I mean, that's why he was saying we were electric on. Yeah, it's getting to him. That's why he said we played electric on Sunday, because he knows what the song is. So we could just sing that or something, even if we get beat off Hearts. It would make us feel better too, I think. We'd be saying, you've got this. We'd be saying to the players, you've got this. Yes, we can see where and how this particular game went wrong today, but we won't forget where we were in October and how far we've come under Danny Röhl and you players. I think it's something we need to do. Just to kind of keep it. We've got to kind of condense the patience almost, be impatient with the patience, because there's so little time left and we've only just got to that situation where we are on a winning groove. It's still, Motherwell and Hearts have been there longer. You know, this season, there's a lot of chat around about right now. A lot of chat about how long it's been since we've felt like this. Oh, it's great, isn't it? So long since we felt that Rangers can actually go and win the league. You know, it's so positive. It's such a change. That's absolute horseshit. The last time we felt like this was 2 years ago. Season before last, 2 years ago exactly. You know, we felt like this, and it's only because we didn't win the league. 2 seasons ago under Philip Clement, because we couldn't keep it going. We were in the same situation, but he'd come in October, and by February, you know, he was up top of the league. You know, and it took a wee while. We could see the top of the league coming, and there was the game against Aberdeen when Neil Warnock was making his debut as Aberdeen manager, or was it the game against Ross County, where we went joint top on points, but we just fell one goal short of going actually top of the league, and people were even, we've chucked it, but then we eventually went top of the league, beating St Johnstone on a Sunday, and then the high point was beating Hearts 5-0 at Ibrox. You know, when all three of Clement's January signings scored. Remember, Lauren Shankland hit the post or hit the bar or something. Like, we don't even need you. We didn't want to sign you. And Shankland's basically shown us that even as getting beat 5-0, they don't have a sniff all day. He still manages to ping one off the woodwork. But I think it's just how it ended that season. We forgot that, and we're trying to make it. We didn't. I knew that was going to 40 pieces. I knew we weren't going to win the league that season. We didn't. I mean, now we've got the ownership has changed, and that promises real longevity to any success we can accrue. But we've done this before, and we were bollocked a bunch of players who had done really well to drag themselves back into the title race because it fell away in the following season. We were just pretty crap. Domestically, anyway. We've got 2 straight home games against Celtic in a week. In both competitions we're left in right now. Those games can make a statement about not just this season, but the rest of the 2020s, as far as I'm concerned, at least. So if we lose one or both of those Old Firm games on the pitch at Ibrox, let's ensure we don't lose either of them in the stands or in our, for want of a less happy clappy or even Tony Bloomy word, our hearts. Don't lose it in our hearts. We felt we win at Fir Park tonight. It will suddenly not be about the new signings and 13 goals scored in 2 games. It'll be about the fact that we haven't won away from home in 2 straight games, 3 straight games if you want to include the Porto match. It'll become a disaster. We've got to fight that. There has to come a point where we're not going to win all the remaining games for the rest of this season. We'll be lucky to win either of the 2 games we've got coming up next in the league. So I'm not lucky, but it'll be difficult to win them. So it's about how we react now. I think the club have got it as sorted as they possibly can. Let's just do what we can to help. I don't want it on my conscience that, again, we fucking bollocked the team the minute they slipped up. And they just, because we know we can shatter players if we don't treat them properly. Anyway, who am I to talk to anybody? This is your Fat Egg podcast, the podcast where all my sarcastic intonations and implied quotation marks around the cliches and dad jokes cannot hide the fact that this is nevertheless the extent of my patter. Blue bins, chips and gravy, rotisserie chicken, lasagna, golden wonder, cheese and onion, can of Coke, flame grilled, ridged steak, McCoy's. Celtic, we've got Celtic twice. We know we're going to play Celtic the 1st of March in the league. I think that's a Sunday, isn't it? And so far, to be confirmed, we drew them at home in the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup. So far, it's going to be the 7th, which will be 6 days later. Saturday kick-off time to be confirmed, though. So could play it the Friday night, could play it on the Sunday. Just, you can't play it at night time. You can't play it on these 5:45 kick-offs or something like that for television, because it'll be a fucking riot. Because we're just not used to this. If Celtic get their 10,000 allocation, or the allocation that they're due to get, this might be sorted out before the time this pod comes out, whatever, but if they get anything like the allocation they used to get, they'll just be so unused to it, and particularly when they've played them the week before. And unless, even if it is, like if Rangers won 5-0 or something like that, unless it's just a complete demolishing of them, even that will be controversial. There's always bitching, moaning, paranoia. We did the same after, Trusty kicking Jack Butland in the head. We did the same after losing to them in the League Cup semi-final this season. There will be massive fallout, massive bitterness, and we're playing them again shortly afterwards. We can't have everybody pissed. We can't have people having had all day to be in the boozer. With that, also locked and loaded agendas from the previous game, upset, whatever. It's just, particularly if it's been like there's been 2,000 Celtic fans, 2,000 Celtic fans at that game, the league game, but then they come back. There's like 8,000 of them the following week. They're all hyped up on the bitterness that they've been feeling all week. Hopefully, but because they were cheated by the referee or whatever like that, or maybe it's us, and suddenly we're faced with 10,000 Celtic fans, and we're now seeing the Broomloan as being our stand again. We can't cope with the sight of it. It's been so long since we've seen the whole Broomloan filled with Celtic fans. We're on the park raging because they beat us 2 weeks in a row or something like that. You never know. And I think we need to get both games played at lunchtime. It's pretty bad. It's the Old Skool. That's fine. Trouble. I always found it really unfair. This is one of my paranoid complaints. But they get the Broomloan. They always when they used to get the full allocation, they get the whole of the Broomloan stand. They get one massive, beautiful stand that is square behind the goal that they were shooting into in the second half. It's a wall of Celtic fans for their players to see and to hear, and it's like a big speaker. The acoustics are absolutely fantastic at Ibrox, whereas we always, even if we get the same allocation as Celtic for Park Kit, we get stuck away. Somehow they managed to find a way to put like 9,000 supporters in a corner, in a pokey wee corner. It's quite it's quite. It's never been particularly fair. I think it's always given Celtic a bit of an advantage. Old Firm games. Obviously, it's down to us to make sure they don't get any advantage on the park. But I'm not looking forward to the idea of them. It's no, so I don't. I'm not very romantic about that. I'm not very nostalgic about it. I think the 2000s in the corner will do them absolutely fine, and I don't know what the police will have to say about it either. Because it's already, I can see the patter building up online, etc. But it always does. But if we're getting into a situation where somehow Celtic have been wronged, that's the other thing. Give them fucking 20,000 tickets. I don't care. Just can't have any complaints about Rangers are shutting it. What they did with the women's game, was it season before last or last season? The women's Old Firm game at Ibrox, where they had to ban the away support because the Green Brigade were threatening to come along. It was fucking disgusting for Celtic. That Lassie scores a goal. Everyone she's wearing that was a t-shirt saying, football's nothing without the fans. The Jock Stein quote and that kind of thing. As if they've banned the Green Brigade from Parkhead, Celtic. Do you know what I mean? It was. I don't know if there's a thing about you become such a corporate monster that you have to find ways to impersonate the persecuted to make yourself feel better about yourself, or that's the best way to make money as well as if there's some sort of kind of persecution thing going on. That's the Scottish mindset at work there. But I found it absolutely revolting, to be honest. It's one of those moments you just think, oh, you got to just dial this back and let it go, because the Green Brigade were going to come along. They're going to come along and ruin. It's a family thing. I've been at the women's football a few times. It's a beautiful family atmosphere. When Hibs won the league at Ibrox last season, the women's game, they're in the Govan. They're basically getting presented with the trophy right in front of the Copeland Roads. Which is something that wouldn't happen. I don't think it was in the Copeland Road. Don't get big crowds for the women's game. But we've seen, don't get me wrong, the Union Bears would do. I've seen the Union Bears and the Green Brigade was at a Glasgow Cup final when the Glasgow Cup's a youth game. We played at Fir Hill. The two of them felt Fir Hill and wrecked the joint and wrecked each other. It was a total riot sort of way around Mary Hill all night, and it was a bloodbath on the park and stuff like that. It looked fantastic. It looked great fun, but they're going to go there. They're the hardcore supporters. They get banned for Parkhead, the Green Brigades, the same as the Union Bears have been on strikes and stuff like that. It's the odd walkout here and again at Ibrox, but they'd come along to part, and they'd have to double, treble the policing for a women's game, which I think the cost of policing is fairly minimal. They kind of police themselves these games, and it would completely change the atmosphere. You don't know what they get up to, so it was like it's easier just to ban. It's tough to ban all away supporters because we don't know who's going to be who, and suddenly it was always Rangers' fault. It was all big bad Rangers banging women supporters, sexist bastards. It was fucking horrendous. It was a disgusting twisting of the facts. So I think that kind of shit's going to start happening now as well. And I'm really not looking forward to all the nonsense that goes along with it. Maybe it'll just all pass off nice and peacefully. In terms of football, remember that, Alec? Normally I would say, I think like the 1989 Scottish Cup final, Rangers have won the league again. It's so long since we've won multiple trophies, and that we're just getting used to winning multiple trophies again. Multiple trophies on a regular basis. But we win the Scottish Cup and League Cup and stuff like that. But we won the League Cup and the league in 87. Won the League Cup in 88, but then we won the league again. We're not winning trebles at that point in time, let's just say that. We're going for the treble against Celtic, and they beat us in the Scottish Cup final. Thinking they were going to sign Maurice Johnson, that gave them a great inspiration as well. So I think I would think if we win the league game against Celtic, the first one, and we're in a position to maybe start moving away from Celtic, if we're ruining their chances of winning the title, they'll definitely beat us. Normally I would think they're definitely going to win the Scottish Cup, particularly if they played us in the final, but with the games being 1 week after the other, these games you usually find that whoever wins the first one wins the second one as well, when it's back-to-back stuff. Remember Celtic doing that to us in the 90s, early 90s, I think it was. Lots of sendings off, 2 Sundays in the trot. It's just when it starts going badly, it stays bad. So normally I would say if we're going to do well in the league game, Celtic will win the Scottish Cup game and vice versa. But this time I just think whoever wins the first one is probably going to win the second one as well, because it means so much. We've had Queen's Park, enough of the Queen's Park. They've got 10 Scottish Cups. That's the most outside the Old Firm. They're really historic. And now we're on to Motherwell, the Steelmen, who are one of the other 10 clubs to have finished champions of Scotland, 1932. Ruined their 9 in a row. Motherwell at Fir Park. Of all our kind of forthcoming games, this is the one I fear most. because of how they're playing just now, especially at Fir Park, Motherwell. B, that we are providing all sorts of results on the league road, away from home just now. Uh, Winning at Parkhead, winning at Pittodrie, but drawing at Easter Road, losing at Tynecastle. We're much, much improved, obviously, over the course of the season, but not kind of the real deal. You're not perfect just yet, but so we're a bit up and down on the roads, and this all means, C, it's a proper game. This is a fixture. I'm actually looking forward to this. It's got real, true heft. Rangers v Motherwell at Fir Park for the first time since the 90s, I would imagine. Don't get me wrong. The other thing, there's all this thing, but it's very much like Easter Road, Fir Park. Rangers haven't lost here for decades. Was it 2006 since we last lost in the top flight at Easter Road? I think it's 2002 at Fir Park, but that ignores all the draws. First place I went after Manchester, and we go back up, it's Motherwell at Fir Park, and we draw there, and straight away we're chucking the league as well as having lost the European final. There's been some horrific draws in the last 20 odd years. Motherwell definitely feeling, obviously, this will be the time it's the best they've been placed since James McFadden scored that goal against. It was December 2002, late on 2002, I don't know. I remember the game, but I can't remember exactly when it was. But this season they've got a particularly great record at Fir Park. They haven't conceded there since the 18th of October. We had no manager at that point. Because you sacked Russell Martin, who what is the start that Motherwell they haven't conceded at home since the 18th of October. But Russell Martin's Rangers scored there on the very first day of the season. Scored at Fir Park. We're one of the few people to breach Motherwell at Fir Park, and you get rid of that manager. How do you feel? With it? Any failure we have this season is on you. You know what I mean? So much so. We did incredibly well to score there. And that didn't feel like that at the time. The fallout after that game, when they played us off the park second half, it was a bit dodgy in the first half. You could see little signs that first time we played at Fir Park this season, the opening league game of the season. Little signs of what we might do. I can see stuff. Happening in there. It's just not quite there yet. I mean, Kieran Dowell, star of the game. Again, you get rid of him. You hunted him. That's on you. But we did well in the first half, and you thought it's going to get better in the second half. It really didn't. And Motherwell were just going through, absolutely destroying us. Jens Berto Askew, he's the Danish mate of Russell Martin. He's been going training trips together. They met up at some sort of conference or something for trainee head coaches. He obviously learnt a bit better than Russell did, but he's going for a kind of Scandi management model. Jens Berto Askew of smaller is better. He's turning Motherwell into the Bodo Glimt of Lanarkshire. He scored for Norwich City in a pre-season friendly at Airdrie. So that got him right on. The side of the Motherwell supporters straight away. And he's managed HB Tórshavn, the Faroe Islands, who Motherwell pumped 7-1 in aggregate in Europe in the 90s. So he's already well in there with the well. But what he's doing this season is ensure he's a hero. They will absolutely lose in the summertime at the latest. He's gone somewhere else. He's actually been manager. I didn't know he'd been manager of Gothenburg, IFK Gothenburg, for a season. He's been assistant manager at Sparta Prague. He's built up quite the CV over the years. Played most of his football in Denmark, made a spell in Turkey, and played Norwich, obviously, and Millwall. He was on loan at Millwall, I think. But I think he only played one game for them. He gets sent off for going in two-footed on somebody. That's great. Certainly likes to make an impact. He does, but they've been playing fantastic this season, Motherwell. They took a doing off St Mirren in the League Cup semi-final, but so did Celtic in the final of that tournament. And they're still in the Scottish Cup. Obviously, they've got Aberdeen at Pittodrie, which a game I think should probably have been played tonight. Or Tuesday night. I think that's a disgrace that game wasn't played Tuesday nights. Just like Aberdeen's game against Celtic at Pittodrie. Probably Aberdeen are out of Europe now, so it's probably best to play that the next European weekend, the next European week, next European midweek. That's probably the best time, the only time really, Sporting Integrity, to play Aberdeen against Celtic at Pittodrie. But they drew one each with us in the first day of the league season, and we had the massive fallout after that. It was the post-match interview with Russell Martin, where he's gutted out all the players. Just their attitude was disgraceful, and I thought, yeah, this is what we need. Folk are complaining about the dead wood in the dressing room, the players that would get any manager sacked. Russell's not having it. This is what we wanted, but nobody else seemed to think this is what we wanted. And it wasn't what we wanted, did he? He lost that war with, let's face it, Nico Raskin. and Tav probably, who scored that day, because he always scores, Tav. They came to Ibrox in December, Motherwell. We only beat them 1-0, and that was a bit of an epic game. I'm nervous about this game, but I'm nervous with a sense of anticipation. I really think we could lose it. I think we could lose this game. We might end up getting pumped. You never know. It might be the final moment of gelling that we need. It's a good scalping to the manager. Certainly seems to get ahead of himself, but I feel as if I can't help. I'm normally the more chance Rangers have of winning a game, or the bigger the game, I'm kind of consumed with nerves and I get all kind of worried and darkly superstitious. But I can't help just really looking forward to this. Rangers against Motherwell as a proper top end of the table clash. It's quite a thing. Barely the way Motherwell have been playing. They played us off the park for the first 15 minutes. In December, we adjusted it a bit. The manager had to come in and adjust it. I think they won the possession stats for the game. They thought they were denied a penalty, but Asgard's both the keepers dominated the game. Both keepers were really busy in that game. A lot of good saves from both of them, but the keeper couldn't hold one shot. I don't know who they shot, but Asgard comes in and tucks it away. 67th minute. That is their only defeat in the last 15 matches, Motherwell. This is colossal. This is as difficult, I think, as any domestic match we have got left this season. I don't know if we'll have to go back to Fir Park. There's always somewhere you've got to go 3 times in a season, not with the post-split fixtures, but hopefully this will be the last time we're going there. And it's Elijah Just, I've got him. He sounds like a character from the Shire. I don't mean East Stirlingshire, I mean... but he's fantastic in the midfield there. Tamanda Mashmanishi did not play against us in December. That might be the difference. He was away AFCON at that point in time. He scored against us last season. He's got 13 SPFL Premiership goals. They've got the league's top scorer, Motherwell, just now. So, hell of a game. Danny Röhl's pre-match presser today. It was a kind of snarling, metallic teuton. I don't know who's in charge of the sound. Rangers TV, the microphones for the pre-match presser for the Motherwell game. But it was the Virginia playing effect. The journalists were really, you could hardly hear the journalist questions. I was turning it up full blast. Then it went back to Danny Röhl. I don't know what's up with his microphone, but he sounded like Ramstein. He just went, it's a kind of this horrible, metallic kind of echoing roar to it. And no, Virginia playing. It was Roxy Music song when it used to fool DJs when they first played it because it fades in. It gets louder at the start as opposed to... And so it sounds really distant. So DJs would just turn it up. They'd, all right, I can't have it on loud enough. I can see that the needle is in the groove. And I can hear music, but it's not loud enough. They'd turn it up and then it would come in. It's got a fake intro and then bang. And it would come full sound. They'd have to turn it down because it would blow the place wide open. But Brian Eno, actually talking about Ramstein, Brian Eno loved krautrock as well. So it's great. Danny Röhl's pre-match presser for the Motherwell game. He's all smiles regarding getting the manager of the month. He got the manager of the month for January. No talk of the curse of getting manager of the month. I mean, he will get introduced to that at Fir Park, but he immediately attributes it to his players and his staff. And then he goes very kind of head down and serious, as if he's compensating for Sunday's post-match enthusiasm on Premier Sport. He's dialing it back a bit. But he's a bit cheeky smirk when he was saying the players are now maybe hunting each other. This thing about hunting, it's quite I love it coming from obviously maybe use it in Germany a bit more as a hunting. We're hunting the opponents, but now the players are hunting each other because there's such competition for places. Is what he's saying. He's enjoying that. Fight for our love, he's saying to the players. The previous weeks, they were maybe, he said, building the house. Previous weeks in the job, the previous couple of months in the job, he's maybe building the house. So now he's going to go after winning stuff, is what I was hearing, as long as Motherwell aren't too stellar and they're on the wreck the house. Just, you're drinking stellar, you'd be too drunk to play football. It doesn't work. His mindset is go for the win, never to draw. Respect your opponents, but never fear them, is what he was saying in this. But he wants to see a team on the pitch who are never afraid to score goals. Don't go into tackles worrying about hurting yourself. Go in 100%. And I don't know if this reminded him, but it reminded me anyway, how he said the same thing to the club about the transfer window. Just go for it. Find out who you want and go for it. Attack it. And I think go in 100%. So he was citing the chairman and... the technical, the 6-month consultancy stig Inga Bjornaby and Greta Steinson is a consultant as well for the 49ers group. It's the praise for the directors who helped him get in the new signings. But one of the journalists asked him about Bayern, saying that this will be Danny Röhl's first time as a manager in his own right, into kind of leading in a title, have a chance of winning the title, because his whole time at Sheffield Wednesday, his only previous job as a head coach in his own right, they were fighting relegation the whole time because of their financial problems. He says, but you were involved in a title-winning team at Bayern. I didn't win every title at Bayern when he was on the coaching staff there. And what he said was he learned there at Sabiner Strasse, not Groenwalder. Groenwalder Strasse was the state. I think TSV 1860 are still playing there. It's Groenwalder Strasse, but that's where Bayern played us in the 72 semi-final, first leg. But he said that what you learn there is the winning mentality comes into every aspect of your training, of life, really. It's just your training and like four-a-side games, for example. He's mentioned four-a-side games, and that's making me think about Souness getting a doing off Alan McCoist and Ian Durant and all that, and Friday fives at Ibrox in the old days. But it's always focusing on the next game, never resting on your laurels. You've got to be competitive at everything you're doing, and even just in training, peeing up against a wall and who's got the ping ace lederhose and stuff like that. Chris Jack asked him, Chris Jack of the Herald Rangers Review, Evening Times, he asked Röhl if he was trying to build a kind of Bayernish winning culture, and Danny Röhl said, we've gone from we hope we can win to yes, we can win. We believe that we can win, basically. A winning mindset is great, but he has to be humble, as it's a big job to do it again and again, and credit goes to the players. He will switch the phone off. He was saying, I think people were asking him if he's going to go to the Hearts game at Tynecastle tonight. I'm talking to you on Tuesday night, but if he's going to go to the Hearts game against the Edinburgh Derby at Tynecastle, he says, no, I'll not go along. He said, I don't even, he said, I'll switch. He's got a smile on that as well. He said, I'll switch off my phone because sometimes an opponent can score in the 97th. I'm sure he said this. I'm sure he said sometimes an opponent can score in the 97th minute. Is he talking about Celtic? Is he watching his phone on Saturday night, giving it, oh, the bastards are getting beat, you beauty. They're out the Scottish Cup. Superb, fantastic. What? How the fuck? We then get 30 seconds of injury time. Celtic gets 7 seconds of injury time, 7 minutes of injury time because the game's in the balance, because they only need one goal to equalise. But we get like 30 seconds of injury time, of which none were allowed to be played. It was 30 seconds to get the ball respotted after the 90. The referee blows straight away before we even kick off again against Queen's Park because we were winning 8-0. There was like 17 substitutions in the second half at Ibrox on Sunday. That's the second game in a row. What have we letting the opposition get put out their misery by blowing seconds after the 90? But I like to see my team winning 10-0. I've never seen us scoring 9 goals, I don't think. All in all, his presser, Danny Röhl, today was a balance of expressing satisfaction with how we've kind of come along, how far we've come, and almost as if he's learned about the Scottish psyche, as if like, Stevie Smith stood up the back behind all the journalists and is just giving them the kind of throat slashing. No. It's like every time Danny Röhl starts saying something that might come across as too cocky to Caledonian sensibilities and lug holes, he was qualifying every positive and piece of praise with a reminder of the fact that we've won nothing and we can't afford to lose focus. Every smile then get turned into, he turned all his smiles upside down as soon as he could. I don't know if he's maybe he's been told how the Scottish mindset works, but I think he's trying to bleed positivity. He's still trying to put positivity into the team. But on Sunday, he looked like a guy who suddenly felt genuinely positive and was enjoying the fact it was kind of that was off his back. Right, I don't have to get him out of a slump anymore. No, it's about trying to keep them winning. So will his team at Fir Park reflect the kind of balancing of the positives and the negatives? At no point in his short reign has it been harder to guess our starting 11. That's a negative. But it's because we don't know who we want left out. That's a positive. There's so many players on form just now, so many players of a certain quality. So I'm reverse the Danny Röhl thing there. Who's he going to go with for the last of our midweek madness, unrelenting across the last few months? I don't know. How can he pick a team for this? It's just too many possibilities. There's so many possibilities. We'll start. The probably the best thing to do is start with the injuries. Dujon Sterling was meant to get 90 minutes against Queen's Park, but he came off at half time. Tav wasn't supposed to play at all against Queen's Park. It was basically saying he was supposed to play against Motherwell and get rested against Queen's Park. But Max Aarons, the doctor, told me, I don't know if he was ill or injured. He pulled out that morning and Tav came in and then scores a hat-trick in the first half to sum up how professional he is. And in that post-match presser on Sunday, he eventually said he had a laugh about the fact that Tav, people are asking him, oh, Tav's 34 now, are you starting to, how are you going to kind of manage his minutes and all that? And he had the thing where he says, if you ask Tav, he'll tell you he can play every game, and there's a wee laugh. It was nice to see that, because he's been unbelievably serious every time Tav gets spoken about. And even on, you watch these things, you read too much into them, but on Sunday, Tav's having a laugh with somebody at full time. I think it was a Queen's Park player, actually. And then Danny Röhl appears next to him just to give him the kind of, well played, Tav. Danny Röhl's on the pitch. And Tav kind of goes, all right, kind of serious, maybe it's just total respect for their gaffer. But it wasn't smiling at all. It took the smile off his face, really. And I felt as if there's a few other times he's getting asked about Tav's achievements, and he's like, yeah, he's really good. He scores a lot of goals. It's good stuff. But everybody's good. I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to praise one player if he can't praise them all. But I think what it might be, the way that interview went, was by the end of it, he was getting asked about Tav's contract extension. He must know that every time he gets asked about Tav, he's eventually going to get asked. So this legend, and he called him a legend. He says he is a legend. Because somebody was saying to him about the number of goals Tav has scored this season. I think he says that's a sign that he's been here a long time, which can be read both ways, you know. But he quickly said, in penalties, I don't care that it's penalties, that's every bit as hard to score as goals from open play. You think, is this damning with faint praise? Is this a total passive aggression? But no, he was praising him. And it's nice to see him having a laugh about him the other day. I was starting to get a bit worried, but I think he's just constantly trying to evade the inevitable follow-up question, which he got right at the end of the Sunday's presser, where he tried to end that presser, Danny Röhl, with a little, there's 16 games to go, let's see how it goes. You know, what about Tav, Danny? You going to? Oh, for fuck's sake! I'd wrapped it up really well and knew I've got to get back into this. Plus, there's 16 games to go. There's only 14 if Celtic beats in the Scottish Cup. So is this cockiness creeping in there? I don't think so. But so I don't know what's happening with Tav. It's really difficult to make out what he wants to do. Max Aarons was supposed to play it right back, but he was injured. Also, Tav comes in and plays on Sunday when he wasn't supposed to, because he was resting him for Motherwell. I think he's kind of at it, because I kind of work out what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to make it out that Dujon Sterling is going to play against Hearts, and Tav was supposed to play against Motherwell, but I don't know if he can now. Is Max Aarons going to be fit? And I think he knows that Motherwell will be looking at Rangers, particularly as we've just signed all these players. And they're all just getting up to match fitness, the 4 players that we've signed. But they've all done so well against Queen's Park. Maybe that's why he was so highly delighted on Sunday, because he knows Motherwell will have no chance of being able to work out what team he's going to pick against them. Gives him a bit of advantage, and he's maybe embellishing that with this pattern about Dujon Sterling and Tav, and is not knowing who's going to play. So we could go 4. Did we go 4-3-3? You know, I'm really enjoying the fact that I can't work out how we're going to play this game. Get 3 across the middle to disrupt or kind of handle the midfield dominance possession that Motherwell are so good at. They're a passing team, Motherwell, and they're very good at winning the ball back as well. So we know we have to. We saw them at Ibrox in December, the way they totally played through us and around us in the first kind of quarter of an hour in particular. In that game, we're going to have to get a hold of things in the midfield. I'm dying to see him go away. Raskin, Diamandi and Chukwani. I'm sorry if you watched Rangers Review not today, same as I have on Tuesday. So I did honestly have these thoughts to myself before I saw them all on Rangers Review, put a lot more fluently, a lot more concisely than I'm putting them. But I watching that game on Sunday, I'm thinking, yeah, if Raskin comes in there, we can maybe stop any midfield. It looks tremendous, Diamandi and Chukwani, but maybe Raskin will disrupt them or something. I don't know. With Diamandi, he can push up to 10 if it's going well enough, and just let Chukwani and Raskin sit, or Chukwani could probably push up to 10 as well, if that kind of destroying type of 10 role. But Romans, a part of me was thinking maybe Romans isn't quite fit enough yet, but Magoma's battle hardened, SPFL Premiership battle hardened. Romans has come on where Kilmarnock have been softened up, they're down to 10 men, and he's playing the bottom of the Championship, Queen's Park. He's maybe getting the wrong idea about Scottish football, or maybe we're getting the wrong idea about Romans because of opposition that he's played against. So maybe Magoma would come back in at left back, but then I think about just think about his passes, Romans, the balls that he's playing, the way he's setting everybody up from left back. It is Rolls Royce stuff. It's like he's saying, "Where is it you want the ball? Because I will put it there for you." If you watch back the goals we scored the second half against Kilmarnock when Romans is on the park, it might be Antman's goal. Romans plays a ball, and Majowski is raging at him. Majowski turns around and just gives it a fuck. What'd you put it there for? And I don't know if I can't see Romans at that point, but he's probably just going to go, just keep watching. It's in the back of the net. There you go. That was the last time anybody's slagged Romans for where he's played the ball. He's literally, it's like, do you want the valve up, or do you want the valve on the grass? What panel do you want the ball to be sitting at for you to connect with your foot? Somebody's passing is absolutely tremendous. It's kind of embarrassing a lot of our forward players because it's not going to be his fault if they don't get the ball where it's supposed to be. I think he's too silky not to start. And particularly playing against another football team. I know that they chase the ball down, they win the ball back well, Motherwell, but I think he's got to play to make this a proper football match if we're going to do that, or maybe we're just going to go with the total physical thing, the set pieces. We're going to overpower them aerially because they're a small team, Motherwell. They're diminutive in stature. Nadiri and Chermiti, or Nadiri or Chermiti. 4-4-2 to get the two big guys up front. That's a thing we could possibly do. That'd be a different thing to see Nadiri and Chermiti playing together. He seems to love Nadiri's positioning, Danny Röhl, as much as anything. He gets between the posts. It's the opposite of the Hibs game at Easter Road when no one was getting in the box enough. He's a fellow Aussie as well, isn't he? And Fir Park is a very dry Bundesliga kind of East German type of venue. So I think Ryan Nadiri could be right at home in this one. So I've got to go for it, just so I don't chicken out from making an actual prediction for a starting 11 at Fir Park tonight. I'm going to go. I want to go. I'm saying what I want rather than what I think is actually going to happen. 4-3-3. Jack Butland in goals. And it's Sterling. The big news is I have selected Dujon Sterling instead of James Tavernier. And even then, straight away, I'm thinking about Tav's set-piece delivery. We've got enough guys in the park now who can deliver set-pieces. But I'm going to go Jack Butland in goals. Dujon Sterling at right back because Dujon, he played at Easter Road. He played at Parkhead. He was probably supposed to play at Pataudry, but he got injured, of course. That's why Tav came in for that game. It did very well. Scores a goal. But I think Dujon Sterling is meant to play away from home. The more kind of physically demanding games. Tav maybe play against Hearts on Sunday. I think it's Dujon Sterling at right back for me. John Souttar and Manny Fernandez centre half. Two Romans going to play left back. Chukwueze, Raskin and Diamande as a three in the middle. Skov Olsen. I said Joshua Barry in Rangers Review today said what I was thinking, which was Skov Olsen. You might think he's no match fit enough yet, but it's obviously too big a game to risk not playing him. Skov Olsen is going to hit the ground. He's going to arrive in this game, I would say, properly. He's going to play in the right. Nadiri in the middle. Mikey Moore on the left-hand side. So the team I'm going to go for a 4-3-3. Butland in goals. Dujon Sterling right back. John Souttar, Manny Fernandez centre halves. Romans left back. Chukwueze, Raskin and Diamande is a sitting three, almost a sitting three in midfield. Just a battling three. And you've got Skov Olsen, Ryan Nadiri and Mikey Moore as your three up front. And of course, Diamande just can push up and become a 10 as well if we're getting enough on the ball. It's a total Clash of the Titans game. It's going to be something else. Score prediction. It reeks of low scoring. Even though we've scored 13 goals in the last two games, we don't concede many. Them neither. Motherwell, as I've said, there's only 3 goals in the previous 2 meetings between us this season. But I think I'll go 1-0 to Rangers with 2 Romans scoring the only goal of the game in the 4th minute, and a more accurate reprise of the move we had around about the 4th minute of the game against Queen's Park on Sunday. Another little variation on our corner routine. I don't know who was it Tav and say Chukwueze. Somebody came short with Tav at the corner, and Tav knocks it. It looks like we're just trying to we're just trying to change the angle. It's a short corner. We're just trying to change the angle so the Queen's Park defence they kind of move out a wee bit. But then what happens is was it actually Scott Olsen? Scott Olsen or Antman comes down behind the two of them, runs behind the two of them, and hits the byline. They ping it to him, so the Queen's Park's all right. Fuck. They move back towards the 6-yard box, and then he cuts it back. He cuts it back from the byline to two Romans, who's just inside the box, or just approaching the 18-yard box, and it was a shot come cross that it caused a bit of damage, but didn't result in a goal. But I think just getting that polished up, getting that brushed up for tomorrow night. So it'll be 4 minutes or so. Two Romans will score the only goal of the game, and it'll be pretty much 90 minutes of total agony waiting for Motherwell to equalise. That or 3-2. 3-2 to us as both sides feel the panic of being kind of, I don't know, more kind of just more breached more readily than they're used to, I would say. So if maybe one goal comes in Motherwell aren't used to conceding at Fir Park. We're not used to having goals scored against us. Maybe both teams just panic at a couple of early goals scored against them, and it turns into a total score fest. But I think 1-0 to Rangers would be far more of a grind, and you'd feel like you'd earned it an early goal. So I'll go for 1-0, and I'm going to go for two Romans as the scorer of the goal, because I don't really have a clue what I'm talking about. If we're going to win the league, then maybe after the the kind of intake of breath at Easter Road, this is the night our properly timed next step up in class arrives with an explosive roar, and we win 3 or 4-1 or 3-4-0, and blow Motherwell out of the water. It's just like, this is us, we're here. But no matter how great all of our ingredients look right now, how lovely it smells as it simmers towards the boil, Motherwell have got that extra herb called time. It's THYME, but also TIME. It's like a near thing. Time, they've got Motherwell cost time, because we're still telling ourselves that we can do this. Motherwell have been doing it from day one this season. They've been doing it from day one this season. They're cooking with gas, and somebody's gas by close of play on Wednesday night will have to be at a peep. We are the peeped, or we are the peepers. I was going to end with that, but Jens Bertoascu, he played for and managed all sorts of clubs all over Denmark and in Scandinavia in general, but he never played or managed Nordsjælland, did he? We've got the Nordsjælland old boys there. That'll do that, folks. Do you think things are bad if we lose to Motherwell? If it's you're too nervous and whatever, it could be worse. You could go back to, I'm going to get out the complete record again. This is down to Albert sending me off now down a rabbit hole of looking at Rangers' other games, friendlies and lesser cup competitions. Cowlairs, the Glasgow Cup, 1887, 1888, right? So it's a kind of tumultuous year for Rangers. This is our last Glasgow Cup without Celtic in it, basically. In the first round of the Glasgow Cup, in October 1887, we played Third Lanark, still known as Third Lanark Rifle Volunteers. Then we drew 2 each at, what would that be? First Cathkin Park, I think. We drew 2 each with them. I went to a replay at Ibrox, which we won 2-0. That's fine. So we go into the second round against Pollock Shields. Pollock Shields, always a tough game. We played them on the 15th of October, beat them 3-2 away from home at Pollock Shields. I don't know where that be played at. Pollock, I don't know. Then we played Westbourne in the quarter-final. I hate the Westbourne bastards, but we cuffed them 5-1. We cuffed Westbourne 5-1 in the quarter-finals of the 1887-1888 Glasgow Cup. This was 29th of October. In the semis, we got Cowlairs. Cowlairs, them. Drew 0-0 at their place in the first game. So it goes to a replay. That was November 19th. 3rd of December, we're getting back to Ibrox. We draw 0-0 again. So it goes to a replay. This time it's going to be a neutral venue. And I don't actually know where it was. But we drew 2 each at the neutral venue. So then we're going to play another neutral venue. It was at Battlefield Park. I think we played whatever that was. And we beat them 2-1. So that's fine. Fourth time of asking. We beat them 2-1. Finally got a result. They protested the game because of Bob Brand of Rangers, who, on the grounds of a breach of amateur regulations. So we had to play them again. The protest was upheld. So this is all Robert McElroy and Bob Ferrier, Robert McElroy and Bob Ferrier's Rangers, The Complete Record, a fantastic book. Breeding Books, available in Breeding Books. So we had to replay having won the game finally. We also and it's January 21st. Fifth time of asking, we beat Cowlayers 3-1 to go into the final, where Cambuslang beat us 3-1. It's just that's if you think things are bad just now, if you think it's been a bad season, it'll be an absolute nightmare if we don't win anything, if we don't win the league, or if Motherwell give us a hard time. Just think about that 5-game epic against Cowlayers that counted for absolutely bugger all. It's up to us to make sure whatever happens this season, it counts towards the rest of the 2020s. Thanks, troops.